Hello everyone once again and welcome to another episode of Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host Caleb Gillock, and today we're going to start off by talking about basketball. Joining me to do so is Jacoby Claypool from the men's basketball team. How are you today, Jacoby?
Good, not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm not too bad either. Well, thanks for coming on the show once again. Let's talk a little bit about how the season's gone so far. Right now the team 8-2. How's the season going for you guys?
I think it's going pretty smooth, pretty well. I think we're exceeding some people's expectations, and that's a good thing.
Now, you said you are exceeding some people's expectations. What makes you say that?
I don't know. Last season, maybe the record didn't really show what the team really was. And I think this year coming out and playing a good couple close games, we're showing people what we're really made of.
What are Coach Hester's thoughts on this season, do you know?
I think he's pretty impressed. I mean, we kind of got an older group, and we're handling things a lot better than I thought he might have thought we were going to.
Now, how are some of the older people on the team contributing this season?
Very well. Houston Clark is amazing at rebounding the basketball. Tyler Family can score on anybody. We're doing a lot of good things as one.
Now, what are some of the things that you guys expect to be able to do as a team throughout the rest of the season?
Just continue to grow, continue to get better, and just better each other and push each other, especially in practice.
Right. Well, the last game was a loss against Bellarmine, 100-83. What exactly happened in that matchup?
It was just they were a good team. They were a very good team. I think they're top 10 in the Division II ranks, and they could shoot the ball. They shot pretty high percentage-wise, if I remember correctly, and that was kind of the difference. Free throws were a big factor, too.
Now, what are some of the other better teams that you're expecting to see the rest of the season?
Well, we come across Point Park, who from what I've seen, what I've been told, they score the ball pretty well, run up the score pretty high. We've already played Grace, which was a tough matchup for us, and Indiana Wesleyan was a pretty good game. Other than that, I just hope that we can come and face a lot of people.
Now, you talked about the Indiana Wesleyan game. Of course, that was a close game, like you mentioned. What was it like to be able to compete so well against the reigning national champions?
I wasn't too surprised, really. I thought we were ready. I thought we prepared well all week.
Now, I know Coach Hester has mentioned throughout the season, he wants to be at the national level at the end of the season. So what are some of the things that you guys are doing as a team to be able to prepare for that part of the season?
Staying pretty focused, paying a lot of attention to detail. One thing that we preach a lot is habits, making sure that we have great habits and keeping everything in order. Another big thing that we do when we compete, we have fun with it. It's not always so serious and a bad thing. We have fun.
Now, what are some of the things that the team are doing off the court right now to help out in the community or anything?
We actually, coming up, we have an event at the Boys and Girls Club. We're going to help with a couple of gifts and presents there for the holidays.
Now, does the team ever help with any of the youth leagues or anything?
We haven't yet. I know we've talked about it. Coach Hester has mentioned it, so hopefully it's something we can do in the future. All
right. Well, a big game coming up here soon against Great Lakes. You were talking about that a little bit ago. What do you expect to see out of them?
They're small, quick, get to the rim pretty well. Hopefully we can sit down, defend, and get some good stops and come out with a victory.
All right. Well, what are some of the things that you think personally that you can work on to better the team throughout the rest of the season?
Personally, I feel like I can take care of the ball a little more, be more consistent offensively, of course, and continue to communicate defensively and make sure everybody's locked in.
What are some of the things that or how do you think the team needs to improve throughout the remainder of the season?
Like I said before, the attention to detail things. I think sometimes we may get carried away or not really lock in completely. And I think as a leader, I need to step up and help with that too.
Now give an example of some of the details that you're mentioning.
Sometimes, we'll sit down and play some solid D for a whole 33 seconds of the shot clock. When a shot goes up, we can't really key in and get that rebound to solidify the stop. But I think if we work on it and keep focusing, we'll be able to do that.
Now, what do you think is hurting the team the worst right now? Why and how can you, as a team, improve that?
I don't want to blame it on the refs or any of the rule changes, but I think we need to sit down and move our feet a little bit more on defense. With the new hand check rule, it's kind of difficult to, on a closeout, make sure you keep the offensive guy in front of you, but we keep working on it, we'll be okay.
What are some of the games that you're looking forward to throughout the rest of the season?
Hopefully, when we make the national tournament, seeing Wesleyan again and seeing a good Bethel team. I think that will be two good challenges for us, and we'll be ready come that time.
What do you think makes those two teams such a great opponent?
They actually just played recently, and Wesleyan came out with a win. Bethel played them pretty tough, as we did. And I don't think people are giving us enough credit, which I think we deserve.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for joining me once again today, and best of luck throughout the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Make sure to go online to iueredwolves.com and check out a full schedule for the men's basketball team, and also for headlines and news articles about the men's basketball team. We'll be right back with more Inside IUE Sports.
This is where a busy mom can work toward a bachelor's degree from a top national university during softball practice. It's where a service member can continue his college studies from anywhere in the world, and where you'll benefit from one of the country's most effectively delivered online programs.
Woohoo!
So, if you've ever wondered if a college education is really worth it, this is where you'll see that it is. This is Indiana University East Online.
And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. Now we're going to talk a little bit about women's basketball. And joining me to do so is Mackenzie Campbell. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, thank you for joining me. Of course, the team is now 4-4. How do you think that the season's going in the first season?
We've played pretty good. We've had our ups and downs, but as a young team, we're going to have the adversity, so we just need to learn how to bounce back from it.
Now, have you found ways to learn how to bounce back from some of the adversity yet?
We're still learning, but working together is one of the biggest things we've had to work on, but I even think that's gotten a lot better, so just a learning process.
What are Coach Selhorst's thoughts on the season so far?
I think she's proud of us. We've worked hard and we've come together, but there's still those things we need to work on, but every team's going to have those things, so.
Right. Now, does the team seem to gel better now? I know at the beginning of the season, things seemed kind of uncomfortable between you guys.
Definitely. I think we have. We are working together better, and we know how each other plays, so it's just helping us as a team.
Right. Well, of course, what's it like to have so many fans at each game? Of course, it's your first season, and there's been a lot of fans at every game. What's that like to the team?
Well, I didn't know what to expect, but it's awesome having everyone there supporting us and just having the support behind us. It's just great. It's a great feeling.
Now, you're used to having all that support after being at Rushville,
Yes,
right?
Rushville was a very good support system, and coming here so far has been awesome.
Now, talk a little bit about your career there at Rushville.
Rushville, 4 years. We had a very good team. Rushville's a strong program. Our coach is a great coach. We went to semi-state my junior year, and we lost to the state champion that year. But it was fun, and playing with Kerrigan in high school, and then getting to come here and play together.
Now, what's that like having a teammate from high school that's also your college teammate?
It's good because we know how each other plays, so we can read each other, and we were better at the beginning since we had played together for so long. We played together since we were in second grade, so it's fun.
Now, have you guys stayed closer together and maybe a little further from the rest of the team, or?
I don't think so. I think everyone, even the lapel girls, we've all come together, and we don't really click or anything like that. We're just one big family. So.
Right. Well, it definitely has to be nice just having a basketball family at college.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, of course, the last game that you guys played was Spring Arbor. That was the last home game. Tell us a little bit about that game. Of course, it was a 91-85 loss, but tell us about that game.
That was a good game. They were a good team. They just outplayed us, but we did some good things, and we also learned some things because they showed what we needed to work on. So we've taken those things that we need to work on, and we've in practice worked on them. So hopefully we're prepared for the next game.
Now, it also seemed like in that game, the big difference maker was the free throw line.
Yes.
Now, what did Coach Selhorst have to say about that?
We put them on the line a lot, and they were making their free throws, and that's something we've been working on the whole season because we get into foul trouble really early. So we've worked on it in practice, just keeping our hands off, being straight up, just so we don't get in that situation, because in that game, that really hurt us.
Now, I know she also made the comment in the post-game interview that day that not only did the free throw line hurt you guys, but you also shot 9% from three-point range. What all did she have to say about that? We weren't taking the best shots, we were rushing them, and our best game is when we get it inside and kick it out, and it wasn't working that well that game. And then also we just didn't get many shots up,
So we've been making sure we get a lot of shots up in prior practices before games now. So.
Now, what are some of the ways that you think the team needs to improve for the rest of the season?
I think we're improving step by step. I think it changes each game what we need to work on, but we also need to stay sticking with our fundamentals, and that's the biggest thing, just the fundamentals. So.
Now, what are some of the big games that you're looking forward to the rest of the season?
I mean, I'm not sure being a freshman, but I mean, conference games are going to be fun and exciting, and also the Taylor game, because I just want to. We all want to prove, like, that first game when we played them, that wasn't us. So on the 16th, hopefully, we can really prove them wrong. So.
Now, of course, the first kayak game is on Saturday against Carlow. What do you know about Carlow? Anything?
Nothing yet. We're focusing on their next game, but, I mean, we'll be prepared by Saturday. So.
All right, well, sounds good, and thank you for joining me, and good luck on the rest of your season. We'll be right back with more Inside IUE Sports.
Sometimes I think the fates must grin as we denounce and insist. The only reason we can't win is the fates themselves that miss. Yet there lives on an ancient claim, we win or lose within ourselves. The shiny trophies on our shelves can never win tomorrow's game. You and I know deeper down, there's always a chance to win the crown. But when we fail to give our best, we simply haven't met the test of giving all and saving none until the game is really won. Of showing what is meant by grit, of fighting on when others quit, of playing through, not letting up. It's bearing down that wins the cup, of taking it and taking more until we gain the winning score. Of dreaming there's a goal ahead, of hoping when our dreams are dead, of praying when our hopes have fled. Yet losing, not afraid to fall, if bravely we have given all. For who can ask more of a man than giving all within his span? Giving all, it seems to me, is not so far from victory. And so the fates are seldom wrong, no matter how they twist and wind. It is you and I who make our fates. We open up or close the gates on the road ahead or the road behind.
And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. Joining me is men's cross country head coach Brett Crowley. Coach, Seth Prince and Dylan Cope finished 14 places and 7 seconds apart at the national meet. Tell us about the national meet.
Excellent effort by both men. Again, anytime you qualify for the Nationals and go and compete against the best of the best in the nation is an excellent opportunity to go to a very historic cross-country course, University of Kansas, Rimrock Farms. A lot of Olympic runners from Jim Ryan to Billy Mills have been through there. So excellent opportunity, crazy field. The winner of the actual men's race finished in just a little bit under 25 minutes. Seth finished in about 27:12, was 210th. So if that gives you an idea how fast and how strong the field was. But against the KIC runners, we really acquitted ourselves well. In fact, Seth and Dylan both were only 15, 25 seconds behind Eric Torres, the eventual runner-up in the KIC, and we competed against Rio Grande and Brescia very well individually. So if only that had been a week or two earlier, but we were glad to take it, and it was a good experience for us all.
Now I know Seth and Dylan both mentioned that they thought it was going to be a very challenging course. Were they right about that?
I think it was a good challenge across the board. Not a whole lot of extremes. It was a fair test and a lot of ups and downs. people think of Kansas being flat, and that particular farm and where we're at, Rimrock Farms, is designed to give the runners, I think, a good test. It does roll up and down. There's several good hills. They actually run through covered bridges, and you feel like you're on a farm of some sort as you run. But the field itself was as challenging. 410 runners in the men's race. And if you had seen the start, specifically all 400 trying to converge all in one spot, the course was very, very well set up by Kansas to allow for this particular meet. It's a good challenge, and certainly one of the tougher challenges we've faced this year.
Well, it definitely sounds like an interesting course. Seth placed 210th, like you mentioned. He had a time of 27:22. Talk about him and his career. Of course, he had 5 of the top 10 finishes here at IU.
Well, as a senior in cross country and hopefully leading into track, Seth more than likely is going to go down as one of the, as a legacy athlete, so to speak, for IU East. In addition to some of the others, Lauren Crump and Tyler Rigby and Brent Burris, who have come before him. And he hasn't actually achieved All-American status, but based on how he's performed in both sports, and especially in cross country, to have his name on our record list 5 times. I know he didn't quite get the school record this time out, and was a little disappointed about that. But to have that accomplishment along with the other accomplishments in track, and the school records that he has there, more so his leadership as he's matured as a person, as a student, and as an athlete. His leadership has been exceptional for us. I'm more pleased and more proud of that than all the records itself. He's really matured into a complete student athlete, and again in cross country, he gave his very best. Especially at nationals, but he gave his very, very best at KIAC to make sure he had the chance to go back a second time.
Right. And what do you expect to see out of him in track this season?
Well, he's going to be one of our focal distance point runners, so to speak. Primarily he's going to be doing a lot of training and preparation because he has an excellent chance to qualify for the marathon. If he runs a half marathon in at least an hour and 14 minutes or less, he can get into the NAIA marathon, which is a year ago he ran the Indy Marathon in about an hour and 19. So we feel like he'll have a shot, but primarily he's going to focus as well on the 10K, which he has a chance to break his school record, getting closer, hopefully down into the 32s and the 30-minute range, as well as he'll more than likely at some point run the 5K for us, which we know that he can run that. Indoors, especially in about 16:45. Outdoors, we think he's been hovering around 17 minutes. We feel like he can go a little bit faster than that, depending upon training. But he's going to be one of our main distance runners again for this coming spring.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Dylan. He placed, like we said, 14 places apart. He was 224th with a time of 27:29. Talk about him a little bit.
His development, from this year has come, basically from what he did this summer. He was very determined to improve in cross country. He had an excellent, spring as a freshman in track, and really used that as a springboard into, this particular fall. And really just, came on board and did exceptionally well from early on. He pushed Seth to be, in our number 1, number 2 runners, and both of them worked together to get stronger. So his development across the board, was just phenomenal. He struggled a little bit at KIC, but really came back and really placed very strongly to give himself the opportunity. And being the last qualifier to go from the KIC was a great accomplishment in and of itself. And everything that Dylan has done has been well earned. It's not just well deserved; it's been well earned. He's worked extremely hard, and his work in the summer with the intervals and the long mileage and so forth has really paid off. And then at NAIA Nationals, then he acquitted himself well. He didn't let the moment get too big. Right. He again ran well, ran his own race. Same juncture in time, especially at mile 3, caught up. And the next thing you know, both at the 3-mile mark, they were both running extremely fast to the point where I thought they'd be closer down to the 150s or finishing maybe in the 125s. And they slowed up a little bit, but still he finished very, very strong and had an excellent fall.
Now, he still has 2 years left. What do you expect to see out of him in the next 2 years?
Well, more good running. I hope from this standpoint, as a coach, I don't try to, we set goals and want, and try to have high expectations. I think the first point is, we always want our student athletes to do well in the classroom. That sets up everything competitively, and I think Dylan's making good progress and strides in that arena. we really feel that if he continues his pace and progress and continues to work hard, it doesn't allow success to kind of cloud his vision a little bit, because he's had quite a bit of it. He's reset his own 1,500 record in track 4 times. He's been our #1 runner at several meets this particular year, making it to NAI Nationals. I think he continues that work ethic. The sky's the limit for him.
All right. Well, besides going to nationals, you also had the Champions of Character Award earlier this year, correct?
We received the Men's Champions of Character Award. Obviously, the university received the overall Buffalo Champions of Character for the entire athletic department, and we were extremely grateful to be considered, much less receive the award. Anytime your peers at the national level recognize you for not just meeting the NAI Champions of Character, 5 core values, but that we really emphasized that as part of our team and really participated in that and made that part of our ethos and part of that our day-to-day activities. That really paid dividends, and to be recognized for those efforts is exceptional too.
All right. Well, aside from that, I know the last time that you and Dylan and Seth were all here, you talked about maybe going to do some sightseeing while you were out in Kansas. Did you do any of that?
That didn't happen. This was the sightseeing that Dylan did. He had his phone out in front of him. Coach, can we go back to the hotel and need some rest? It was only an hour flight, and it was a 3-hour flight with all our connections, and he was a little jet lagged when we first arrived. So we tried to get into Allen Fieldhouse. They're not big basketball fans, but they wanted to see the Track Hall of Fame, and unfortunately they had a women's basketball game that afternoon, and we couldn't get into the actual Hall of Fame to see it. But we did some sightseeing here. They were more interested in eating food and going back and napping, and if they did some homework, I'm not sure if they did that, but they were more interested in the running. So it was very much a business trip from that standpoint. But literally, Dylan had his phone out. Literally, he was either surfing something about the weather for tomorrow, or he was checking to see whose times was what, or he was texting back home to let people know he was doing okay.
All right. Well, that's great to hear. Of course, now cross country's over. You're heading into track. Tell us a little bit about the crossover between seasons.
I call it the merger of tribes, so to speak. They are 2 separate sports, but in our philosophy, we have distance runners from one particular sport who are going to join track to make a good portion of our team. Then we have sprinters and jumpers and throwers. So I call it a merger of tribes. We'll be getting together actually this afternoon to talk a little bit about what we're going to do here prior to exams. One of the biggest things we do as a track team primarily is really we spend one full day, even though they're not all required to do so, as a team study table to get prepared for finals, so that we again end up not just with eligible, but end up with student athletes that are on track for graduation. Along those lines, we'll do some informal workouts, voluntary workouts. Similar to football, they're voluntary, but if we want to get better, we're expecting everybody to participate as much as possible. And a lot of good strength training, resistance training going on, along with some good running. I'm looking forward to seeing what our track team that doesn't participate in cross country, they've had an excellent fall as far as preseason workouts, and Coach Sanders has done an excellent job with them. They're in really good shape. So I'm anxious to see how they do and interact and work well with our distance team and our distance brethren.
All right, well, sounds great. Congratulations on a great cross-country season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Caleb.
And thanks for joining me once again today. We'll be right back with more Inside IUE Sports.
Dylan Newman had a terrible dislocated shoulder after a bad dirt bike accident. The long-term solution, surgery and intense rehab.
I trusted Reed Orthopedics because they had already fixed my ankle. And within 4 months of my surgery, Dr. Miller and my Reed therapist, April, helped me to regain my motion and most of my strength. Thanks to Reed Ortho, I can get back to what I love. It's all about trust. Right, Dr. Miller?
Right here at Reed.
Right here in Richmond.
Welcome back to Inside IUE Sports, and that sound you just heard means that it is time for Wolf Center. Wolf Center is where we take a look back at last week's IU East results and ahead to next week's schedule. You can download the Wolf House sound that you just heard for free by downloading the free IU East Athletics app to your iPhone or Android device by going to the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store. Now let's take a look back at last week's results. On November 18th, the men's basketball team defeated Mount Vernon Nazarene University 72-69. Houston Clark scored 17 points for the Red Wolves. On November 19th, the women's basketball team fell to Marion 102-75. Mackenzie Campbell had 23 points for IU East. On November 21st, the men's basketball team beat Clark 70-68. Lashae Davis had 5 free throws in the last 43 seconds. On November 22nd, the men's basketball team lost to Grace 72-60. Jason Ray had 23 points and made the all-tournament team for the Red Wolves. Also on November 22nd, the women's basketball team fell to Spring Arbor 91-85. Bailey Dryman had 16 points for the Red Wolves, along with 9 rebounds and 3 assists. On November 22nd, the men's cross-country team was at the NAIA meet. Seth Prince ran the 10th fastest time in IU East school history. On November 28th, the men's basketball team was beat by Southern Indiana 86-74. Jacoby Claypool had 11 points and 3 assists for IU East. And on November 29th, the men's basketball team fell to Bellarmine 100-83. Tyler Fangman scored 19 points for the Red Wolves. Now taking a look at the schedule, on December 6th, the IU East women's basketball team will be at home against Carlo in the first kayak conference game for the Red Wolves basketball team. Tip-off will be at noon at the Tiernan Center. And also on December 6th, the men's basketball team will be at home against Carlo as well. This is the first season for the Carlo men's basketball team. Tip-off will be at 2 p.m. and coverage for both games will be on WETV and at IUERedwolves.com. And on December the 9th, the IU East men's basketball team will be at Purdue North Central. Tip-off will be at 8 p.m. IU East time in Westville, Indiana. Coverage will be on IUERedwolves.com. That concludes this week's episode of Inside IU East Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.